Welcome back to another episode of Real Pulse of Real Estate. Today, David B. Heimer and I talk, is it actually a good time to think about buying or selling when the holidays are coming around? And also some places to check out in the Northern Kentucky area. Feel free to like and subscribe and watch for more. Okay, time for another episode of Real Pulse of Real Estate. Did you click away the, hey, you're in a meeting if you want to get out? It's being recorded.
Yes, I did. Here,
okay, cool.
Angle myself
So welcome back, David B. Heimer, to joining me for Real Pulse of Real Estate. Well, let's jump into, I mean, we've already been off camera talking for like 40 minutes now. So let's jump into what we actually wanted to talk about and wanted to record what we were talking about. Yes. It's October. It's end of October. It's almost Halloween. Very spooky time.
Spooky season.
Some could say buying a house is spooky. See how I'm relating this? Q4 every year, I feel like there's this stigma of it's a shit time to buy or sell. Lender side of it, what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously the generic bias, totally unbiased answer is that I think it's always a great time to buy, Adam. I mean, of course. But in all seriousness, I do think the holidays is a good time to buy, just because of the same reason that we've kind of been talking about. And I know we touched on a couple of different episodes, is that you have more negotiating power because less people are competing for the same homes. I mean, obviously we already have that kind of, it's just a generic thing going on this year anyway, just because of how rates are. Some people got priced out, some people would rather wait, things like that. So there's already less buyers. So anything that you can do to eliminate the demand or the amount of people you're up against on any home is only going to give you more negotiating power as a buyer. So I think it's a good time. Now, at the same time, if money is already tight for you and you have, you're going to be buying, multiple costumes for you and the kids, and then you're hosting Thanksgiving at your house, and you got to, buy all the stuff for Thanksgiving, and then Christmas is right around the corner. You got to buy all those presents and things like that. If money's already tight and you don't want it to be tighter, then yeah, I mean, I don't think there's so many holidays. I mean, literally October, November, December have probably three of the most expensive holidays in a row. Between buying all the candy and costumes, feasting and feeding a family, and all the presents you got to buy for Christmas time, like you're forking out a lot of cash in these 3 months. So
yeah, and I would agree. It is like the gauntlet of expensiveness right now, of like, if your debt to ratio is, on the higher end, probably not qualifying it as easily. I think it's kind of like what we've talked about before, of it's always a good time to buy depending on the circumstance.
Yes.
I mean, 2020, 2021, a 2.5% interest rate, doesn't matter who you are, it's a good time to buy.
That's great.
That's a easy slam dunk, alley-oop, call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now it is still a good time to buy for specific people. We just need to assess what is best for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we have the conversations that we do. Inventory still low. I mean, it's not as low as what it was, because I'm actually just going to share my screen really quick. I'm looking right now. This was, September is how far I have it, because October we're still in. This is showing me June of 2021.
Okay.
So June of 2021, because this was really like the heaviest, 0.5, 0.4, 0.5, 0.4.
Yeah, June 2021 was kind of where everything was like bottoming out.
Yes. So these look really high comparatively. January, we were at 1.5. We're at 1.4 now. So we're almost back to where January was with months of inventory. Yeah. So when you've got people saying everything is dropping drastically in the Northern Kentucky market, if rates go back down, we don't have enough inventory to supply the buyers who are going to go into a frenzy of, hopefully they're excited if they see a 6% rate, because that's what the norm's going to be. The norm, I really do think the norm's going to be around that 5.5% range, with fluctuation of a point or two. But that's inventory wise, it's not there yet. A healthy inventory is 6 months worth of inventory. And right now, in the times that everyone's saying feels like things are on a downtrend, we're still at 1.43 months. When it comes to the gauntlet, that I like to call of Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all of that. Um, it's definitely an interesting time to buy, but it's not a bad time to buy. And honestly, I do some of my best business in November and December, just because the serious people who still want to be out there are out there. I like to joke that most real estate agents, when the turkey goes in the oven, they just shut off mentally. They shut off until March, realistically. And they don't really do anything. They just accept that it's a slower time. People don't want to be dealing with showings while they're having family Thanksgivings and all this other stuff to prep for. What I actually did like this Trulia article on here that's basically shared some unique things to consider when you're in the winter market.
Yeah.
So inventory does equal more attention. So if you are selling, you are getting more attention because historically in the winter months, there's less inventory out there. So if you're selling, you're more intentional on selling. A lot of it has to do, and I was reading different articles, a lot of people are making the moves in these months because they're transferring, and they're relocating because they just got a job offer for the new year, and they need to be there by Q1 of new year. That happened a lot with myself being born in Philadelphia. I started kindergarten in Charlotte. Halfway through third grade, end of the year, we moved to Boston, and that was the longest year of school of my life because New England schools start like a month or two after North Carolina schools do. So at one point, I literally looked at my dad and went, does third grade ever end? Like, did I do something wrong? Am I like repeating third grade? And it's true, like first quarter job relocations, that happened to me 3 different times with my
Yeah.
mom's work, where it is a norm. Locked in real estate agents is something that people can deal with where, I mean, truly, like I said, most agents mentally check out. I have picked up buyers because I have them telling me I've been reaching out to my agent for the last 2 weeks saying, hey, can we see this? Hey, can we see this? And they just don't respond. They've ghosted me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, okay, well, let's work together and let's get this taken care of because everyone needs to buy and sell when they need to buy and sell. Faster home sale. This is going like in the Chicago area. This was also written about Massachusetts. I haven't looked for Northern Kentucky specifically. However, usually I will say, and it kind of goes in line with a higher listing price, as long as you're pricing it right.
Yeah.
It's going pretty quick. Again, the buyers are more serious. There's not just I'm doing this because my interest rate is 2%. So it's almost like a hobby of buying this house for me right now. People in this market, they're buying right now because they need to be buying. So they're a lot more serious, but it is something to consider of it's as long as you're doing the right marketing, you're doing the right like price point, selling in the holidays doesn't really affect you.
Yeah.
It's just more of there's usually less buyers looking, there's usually less inventory on the market. So if you want a spotlight on you, go for it. Honestly, I think personally, for the $350,000 price point, a lot of people would actually benefit from selling right around now with less inventory before we get into a possible heavier inventory, which looks like it's projecting that way with what I was looking at on the MLS.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody, I feel like everybody just, even if you're not in real estate or know much about real estate, I feel like everybody has this stigma in their head of, I gotta wait for the spring market. I gotta wait for the spring market. I gotta do this in the spring. Like everybody just has that mentality because I feel like everybody's been listening to that for so long. And like maybe years ago, the spring market was the best time to list, but like everybody just has that in their head of like, oh, spring is where everybody's starting to get rid of the, the fall or winter depression and the seasonal depression and all that. And now
Yep.
they're getting happy because the weather's, a little more warm and things like that. So it's, you're dealing with a lot of emotional things, but at the end of the day, it's just, I feel like people it's that what is it? I think it's the comedian Bill Burr always talks about going to imright.com
Mm-hmm.
and just like reading the first thing, basically just going with it. So it's like you in your head are telling yourself, oh, spring's the best time to list. You go on Google, you type in, is spring the best time to list? Obviously, the first things that are going to pop up are articles saying, yes, spring is the best time to list. You don't even click on the articles. You're just reading and going, Yep, that's it. Instead of talking to a realtor who actually sees the market trends and the things in the MLS that the average consumer can't see.
Yeah, and that's it. It really is. Again, doesn't matter what the market is. I'm always going to assess: is it a good time for you, specifically with your picture, like with your circumstances? Is it a good time?
Yeah.
But realistically, I personally like buying in the winter more. It's again, everyone's more serious. The seller's more serious to be on the market at that time. Buyer is more serious to be looking at that time. I don't get the mindset sometimes of wait till spring just to wait till spring.
Yeah.
It truly doesn't make sense of like, okay, it's more competitive and it's a hotter market in spring. You understand, you're telling yourself you want a more competitive market, which means you want to put yourself up against more competition.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I get it in special circumstances, school, things like that, waiting for like depending on what they want to do, like maybe they're empty nesters now, kids going to college, they can get out of this school district, things like that. I get it. Not everything is that though, as to truly people just go, oh, I'll wait till spring to sell.
Yeah.
And I do think it has to do with what you're talking about, like that winter depression of like it's almost ingrained of like hibernate for these 3 months and don't do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think I'm gonna bitch for a second. I do think realtors should come together and not be such
Say it.
they
Say it.
they shouldn't be such assholes in the sense of it's still a good time to buy or sell, but don't list on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Don't list on Christmas Day. Don't list on hell when the Bengals were in the Super Bowl here in Cincinnati. Like a thing that will seemed impossible to ever happen for Cincinnati sports ever again.
Yeah.
A team making it to the championship. Realtors were listing on like at 2 hours before game time in a market where it's like, yeah, no, you have to go see it 20 minutes. Like you're doing your sellers a disservice if you're listing on those times, because not everyone's going to go see that house because of obligations. And the people that are going to go see that house are cursing under their breath that how dumb are you to list a home on a family holiday? Like, give me 12 hours. Give me
Yeah.
12 hours of like blackout listings, not allowed to list during this time.
That's you bring up a good point because I always think the same thing when I see realtors who are or who are hosting open houses on Sundays, especially if it's like a Sunday and it's a Bengals home game or something,
Yeah.
or like they'll host it on a Sunday during peak football time, football season, which like I get it. At the end of the day, maybe Sunday's the only day that the sellers could agree to doing an open house and things like
Mhm.
that. But like I see almost every single weekend an agent hosting an open house, and I'll even go to a lot of them as well. Like especially if I don't have
Mhm.
plans to watch the game at a friend's house or anything like that. Like I'll go to the open houses, and it's a ghost town.
Mhm.
And every time I'm there, the realtor will say to me like, "Yeah, I think this was a bad move doing this during the Bengals game." And I'm like, you think? Like we finally have a good team. Everybody wants to sit back and watch them. Like, and maybe if things go south again, or if things consistently say good, and we can be like, oh, okay, that's it's just the Bengals game. But like it's still so new and so exciting for us that
Mhm.
we like it was just 2 years ago we were in the Super Bowl. Last year we made it to the AFC Championship.
Mhm.
Like,
Honestly, should have made it further
yeah,
again, but a
but like,
catch doesn't catch anymore. So
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. Yeah, not salty, but like, so like that's what I'm saying. Like, it's still we're only in season 3 of having a good Bengals team. Like, this
Mhm.
is still very new to people where we want to go home. Like, I mean, I grew up as a Bengals fan, and just basically means I grew up with disappointment my whole life. And like, so 3-4 years ago, if I saw the Bengals was on when Sarah and I were just doing something around the house, like, yeah, sure, I'd throw it on and I'd kind of watch it in the background of doing stuff. But like over the past 3 years, when we actually started to become something, now it's like, no, I'm sitting in front of the TV for the entire game. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to enjoy this because
Mhm.
this is what, like, I'm so excited that they're finally becoming something. So everybody's still in that mindset. And I
Well, and
just, yeah,
it's hard with football season because like Saturdays you've got college football and there's a lot of loyal like Cincinnati Bearcat, like different people around here of loyalty to certain teams, especially I mean
yeah,
the Bearcats have been even pretty good. Um but Saturdays and Sundays are hard to have open houses on with how loyal of fans the Cincinnati sports world is. I have actually been seeing a lot more agents doing like Thursday evening open houses, which I think has been pretty smart, of like, just come here after work. Literally don't go home, just come right here, check out the house and call it a day.
I've been seeing those too, and those seem to be doing really well, surprisingly. Because at first, when I
Mhm,
would see like so and so's hosting an open house 4 to 6 or 4 to 5 to 7 or whatever on a Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday, like
mhm.
I'm like, man, who's gonna show up to that at like after work? But like surprisingly, I'll show up to them myself, and they do pretty well.
Because it's easier.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna head straight from my, and honestly, it's smart if you think about it, because the people who are leaving work to go to this open house are just seeing what their commute would be like.
yeah,
You know, like, I'm
perfect. Yeah,
leaving work, I'm going to this open house. Okay, that's the commute. Okay, I feel good with that. Let's go check out the house. And it's a lot harder to get people who are hungover or enjoying the Saturday laziness of, they finally have no plans, all plans got canceled. It's
yeah,
really hard to motivate someone like that to come out unless they're a very serious buyer,
yeah.
open house wise.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, it is funny that we kind of jumped into open house philosophy after all this. But truly, I mean, it's so funny of open houses. Gorgeous weather could mean you have everybody, and gorgeous weather could mean nobody wants to go because everyone's at the park or going out and doing something outside.
Yeah.
Rain could mean you have everybody because no one wants to just sit around at home. They're feeling cooped up. Or rain could mean everyone's staying home because they're feeling depressed and they're surrounding themselves with 20 blankets and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
So there are some agents who have really figured out a specific open house. I've talked to a couple of them. Personally, one that I like doing is actually having an open house before my open house. If it's going to be during the weekend, I actually invite the neighborhood to an exclusive neighbor open house a little bit before, like an hour before the actual open house starts. So that way they feel inclusive. I can talk to the neighbors, get to know the neighborhood a little bit more, talk to the people that are coming to the actual open house about the neighborhood, and things like that. So
I'm I'm a slut for a good neighborhood open house. I'll tell you that,
and
dude.
that's the thing. You want to
Every
get
single time I
the
see one in
door.
my neighborhood, I'm like, because I mean, I go to
Exactly.
houses anyway. So like, I guess it's a little different for me because anytime I see an open house, if it's within, a 10-20 minute drive of me and I'm not doing anything on a weekend, I'm going to go just to stop
Mhm.
by. Because number one, I like to see what's out there for my clients. I like to keep my ear to the ground on the market. And then two, I get to, talk to other realtors. But like, yeah, every single time. And Sarah will come with me too. If we see that there's an open house like in our neighborhood, she's like,
Mhm.
I always wonder what that house looks like on the inside. And I'm like, let's go. Let's go take a
Yep.
look at it. Let's see
That is
exactly what they got going
that is
on.
the absolute best way, because you're gonna get traffic. Neighbors are going to be nosy. At least allow them to see your product, because it very well could spark, this would be perfect for so and so, and maybe so and so is not even thinking about buying right now, but sending that to them because they're not on the radar.
Yeah.
You had a neighbor come through. It's like, oh, you live close, but we could be neighbors. Heck yes. How many posts do I see of people sharing their, like, a listing two houses down, being like, be my neighbor? Like,
Oh, yeah.
people love it. People eat it up.
Oh, yeah, I do. I see that all the time. People, hey, the house next door to me is for sale. Who wants to come live next to me? Like, 'cause people do want to pick their neighbors. They would like to live
Mhm,
next to people that they know that they can trust because
mhm.
that's how people get back to that community feel. So, like, yeah, I see that all of the time.
Yeah, no. So, all right. Overall summary.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what the temperature is outside, doesn't matter what holidays going on. We do understand the holidays are harder to
Mhm.
buy in because of gifts and unf I don't know. I guess I could go off on a complete tangent of, I hate that, like, I feel like these months are, Americans are almost encouraged to go into debt in order to make their family happy with gifts.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation that we could have on a depressing day.
Black
Um,
Friday, Cyber Monday.
Really,
There's
yeah, of like,
yeah.
but it's also like you gotta have the latest and greatest, and or else your kids won't love you.
Yep.
It's like, bro, I remember when I got the bare minimum and I was just like, hell yeah, thank you.
Dude,
Like,
yeah. I got
yeah.
a I got a Game Boy. I think it was like my Christmas. I was probably 5, maybe 6 years old, and I remember I got the Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red, which had been out for like
There you
five,
go.
6 years already.
Hmm.
But to me, in that moment, I'm like, dude, I don't care. I get to freaking play Pokemon all day now, and I just immediately was just locked in the rest of the day. So like,
God, those Game Boy colors were so iconic.
dude, they were.
Especially when like you're traveling in a car for like a road trip and your parents got you that extension light with the curly thing. So like, you know what I'm talking about? Where like you plugged it in and it was a
The
light
little
for
light.
your Game Boy so you could see
Yes.
because there was no brightness on the screen
Yes.
or anything. So yeah, that was ideal. I remember when I lived in New England, we got, I think it was like a 7-inch DVD recorder, or not a DVD recorder, a DVD player
Yeah.
that allowed my sister and I to watch DVDs on our road trips because my family's in Pennsylvania or Ohio. Like we would take pretty far road trips.
Yeah.
And we were so excited because we got Pirates of the Caribbean with it that we had a TV that was actually decently big, like a 30-inch television. But we were so excited about it. We watched Pirates of the Caribbean on this 7-inch DVD player in our dining room instead.
Do you remember when the Game Boy Advance? I'm not trying to get too far off on a tangent, but do you remember the Game Boy Advances used to have like little cartridges that had like 3 episodes of something on it, or like a
Yep.
movie or something? Like they would have those on there, and like that
Yeah.
was like mind blowing. Now you can just like pull up your phone, get Netflix, and have like the entire discography of Netflix. Like it's crazy. But
Yeah. It is great.
I'm also going to take a sidebar because you just said Caribbean instead of Caribbean. I feel like everyone says Caribbean.
It's Pirates
I
of the
think Caribbean's more right. I think
Caribbean,
that's like for
right?
non-hillbillies, but like for me, when you said it, it just like triggered like a, oh, you think you're better than me?
Emily, how do you say the Pirates movie name? Yeah, Emily just said Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm gonna
No, it's Pirates of the Caribbean. Why'd you say Caribbean and now you're correcting to Caribbean?
Caribbean.
It's definitely Caribbean. That's what
Yeah, Caribbean.
said.
It's not Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, well, David just looked it up and the Google translator said Caribbean. No, she's bullying me right now because again, you're born in Philly, you moved to Charlotte, then you're in New England, and then you're in Kentucky. She just asked me what does Crayola make because I say crayons.
I say crayon.
Yeah,
Sarah
crayons.
all the time because I say crayon.
Crayons.
C-R-A-N, crayon.
Crayon. Yeah, it's crayons, like cranberry juice.
Yeah, exactly. It's crayon.
I don't know if you can hear. She's yelling at us for our Campbell County education. But I also say orange.
I say orange.
Yeah, I say it like
O-R-N-G,
Caribbean. Orange.
Orange. He's orange.
Orange. Yeah, I'm literally orange. So, but yeah, it's 4 specific accents that I was around.
Yeah.
So I just made up my own language, basically.
Mixing it all together.
Made it up. But yeah, no, so that's our lesson on phonetics.
Yeah.
I'm glad everyone.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks for following that tangent. Buy a house just anytime.
Whatever makes sense for you, really.
Whatever makes sense for you. Let's go ahead and jump into I want to do like a random business shout out. Not like a whole list, but like maybe once an episode we just say, hey, check this place out. Is there anywhere that you and Sarah have been or yourself where you're like, this place is pretty cool, people should know more about this?
I want to say Smoke Justice in Covington, but I also don't want anybody to go there because it's already packed enough as it is. So
honestly, their brunch is really good and no one's ever there.
Dude, it's so funny.
I don't understand why.
Thing I haven't been to there. I went there with my parents. I took them there for like, I guess it was like more of like an early lunchtime.
Yeah.
So my parents got the brunch while I got like the street tacos because I'm addicted to them. But like, the brunch looked really good, and I've heard good things. But I'm like, if I'm in that area for brunch, I go Molly Malone's because those breakfast bowls they have are just
they do have
absurdly
really good breakfast bowls. Yeah.
but
let me ask you, how do you feel about Keystone closing?
I'm indifferent about it. I think it's created more traffic in that area to the other restaurants, which I hate because I like walking in and being able to just get a table. And now like more people who want to be in that area are now flocking to like Molly's, Ice House,
Smoke Frost House?
Huh?
Frost House?
Frost House, that's it. And then or like Blinker's Tavern. So like I feel like because like people go to that area all the time, or Covington Yard, like people are always in that area, but like Keystone was another place that would take a little bit of the traffic. But like to be honest, I really wasn't that big of a fan of Keystone.
I wasn't either. Like it was all right.
I went, I was like, yeah, this is okay. Like, yeah, it's cool. It's a gimmick mac and cheese. That's awesome. But like, but I just where I'm more confused about the whole situation is that They announced that they were closing because they said that it wasn't doing as well as they thought. But literally every single time I walk by there at any point in the day, be it a random Tuesday at 1 o'clock or any time during the weekend, it's slammed. Every table's taken. The inside is packed. Like, it is constantly busy. But they said that they didn't do as well as they thought. And I'm like, I mean, and like, short of just raising the prices of everything, like, I don't know how you guys could have done better. It was constantly full.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do have the Mac Shack or whatever that they're keeping, which is just the mac and cheese. But honestly, I mean, I've said it for years. Cruitt's Creek here in Independence has better mac and cheese than Keystone does.
I never been.
That's like, I never really got the hype of Keystone.
Yeah.
So
I will
I'm
say,
curious about like because you're a food guy.
I love food. Well, so the one thing I will say is that we catered for Sarah's little brother's, like, one of his birthday parties. We catered Keystone, and they had like sandwiches and wraps and stuff, and like little pretzel sandwiches. Dude, those were amazing. I'm like, why would you guys, like, I get it that it's like Keystone mac and cheese is like the big draw, and like that's the main thing they push. But like, dude, these sandwiches were amazing. And I'm like, why? Like, you go to Keystone, and I feel like I just didn't even look at the sandwiches. I was just like, oh yeah, it's okay, whatever. I got to get the mac and cheese because I'm here. But like, their other food was actually really good as well. And I think if they would have almost pivoted more into, like, and I think they were trying at the end. I'm not going to say that they weren't, because like, I went in there one Wednesday and they're like, oh, this is Burger Wednesdays, build your own burger, and it's like super cheap today to just make whatever you want. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like, I definitely think they tried, but yeah, I was definitely surprised to see them close down.
Yeah, and I'd agree. My shout out, well, I already said it, but my shout out this week is going to be Cruitt's Creek. I feel like if you know Cruitt's Creek, you know why I'm saying it's Cruitt's Creek. If I feel like most have heard of it and have been like, oh, I haven't tried it. Just across the board, great food. They have a whole bunch of different options when it comes to like food. Honestly, right now I'm obsessed with their chicken piccata. Because like a good chicken piccata is like, nobody really like makes that often anymore. They always switch out their like fried spuds is what they call it. Like sometimes it's tater tots, sometimes it's fries, sometimes it's like those big fries that are square that I can't remember, of steak fries. But yeah, Cruitt's is a really solid one to go to. Honestly, I also hate saying that because Cruitt's is already busy now for the most part.
I'm looking at their menu right now, and I'm like, man, all this stuff.
It has a whole bunch of options, right? Like
it's a lot.
It's crazy. Their chicken is they're like fried chicken, super good. But yeah, I would like to go ahead and check out Cruitt's Creek here in Independence. Honestly, one of the biggest reasons I love Cruitt's Creek the most is because it's not just another chain in Independence.
Yeah.
Like, it's a unique offering. We have a lot of chain stuff in Independence, at least like the centrally located part by Kroger. I kind of hope we get like a one or two more mom and pop shops, but we'll see what happens. I also understand running a restaurant is really difficult. So it is what it is. But yeah. All right. Well, should we say anything really controversial to bait people with, or
taking a nap in jeans is weird.
Yeah.
I'm just
out then. I Adam Cron love taking naps in jeans.
I don't think it's necessarily a controversial statement, but I think if you go exactly the speed limit in the left lane on the highway, you should have your license revoked for at least a week. Repeat offenders go to a month, and multiple repeat offenders go to a year. I think we just need to start doing it. I'm tired of seeing it. I have another one, but I'll save that for another episode. If we're
all right, I'll ask you for another one next time. So, David, thank you for meeting with me and recording early, because tomorrow we are checking out the horses.
Yes.
Good old
betting on the ponies.
Yep. So I appreciate everyone who's watched. Anybody has any questions, always feel free to comment down below. But David, as always, I appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow.
See you, man.